All right, the Reds, it's another transfer show from the Anfield wrap. As ever, there's loads of mad gossip out there, including about the Reds. And even though the Liverpool Echo and Liverpool Football Club themselves keep on saying they're not going to sign anyone, we don't really believe them. We know they've signed a teenage kid, but we're talking big money stuff here. I'm Gareth Roberts, got Josh Sexton, got Andy Heaton, and we're going to get stuck into a couple of new rumours that are out there. I say new, we've been linked to this fella quite a few times before, the one we're going to start with. But the one we're going to start with is Memphis Depay at Lyon. We've been linked to him several times. Obviously, there was big rumours back in 2015 that we were going after him and going after him in a big way. He went to Manchester United then, we didn't get him, and Brendan Rodgers, later denied that there was anything in it anyway. He said at the time, he's a young, talented player, but we already have 4 wingers at the club: Raheem Sterling, Jordan Ibe, Adam Lallana and Lazar Markovic. Nice one, Brendan. But he said then we have other priorities, and this is sort of where this conversation might go, because what are the priorities that we see at Liverpool right now? Depay now, I mean, you know, Rodgers there references him as a winger. Now these days he's playing a lot sort of more central. He can also obviously play off the left and as a deeper forward as well. Reports sort of April, May time suggested that he'd been scouted by the Reds, but then there were strong denials of any interest. This latest thing comes that basically it's a Sky Bet generated thing really, and the idea is that Liverpool are favourites out of any club to sign him. There's interest, like confirmed interest from Wolves in the player, but then the Birmingham papers are all reporting no, Liverpool are the favourite. So let's run through a few stats and interesting facts about the fella then. 34 goals in 88 games in France, 10 goals and 10 assists in the league last season, 46 caps for the Netherlands, 16 goals, and he's obviously big mates with Gini Wijnaldum as well. Last season, Lyon finished 3rd, 19 points behind PSG. He's contracted until 2021, but there's been many a suggestion that Lyon would take around 35 million for him, whereas Depay himself has said, obviously, he would like to play for a bigger club than Lyon. So, Andy, what do you reckon to this one? As I say, it's not a new name, but things have changed. His stock has changed as well, because obviously when he left United, most people had decided he was crap. But he sort of, you know, he's put new life into his career. He's done well in France. His stock's gone back up again. Has it gone up enough to be tempting Liverpool? I
don't think so, to be honest, Gareth. I know his stats in France are pretty good, but you can't dismiss his record at United, which was pretty poor. Whether he was played in the right way or deployed in the right way is you know, that's up for debate. But I watched the Netherlands game last month, and I thought Netherlands played really well, but I thought where they were lacking was actually up top when he was playing up front with Ryan Babel.
He had a poor game.
He had a poor game, and I mean, I know he's got a decent record for the Netherlands, but he just looks a little bit short of that quality. But more than that, I mean, I'm always for 35 million. You could argue, would you take a punt? But then you've got questions of his attitude.
Yeah.
And we all know about Jurgen's much publicised no dickheads policy, and it's a very strict no dickheads policy. So you just wonder how he'd fit in, and whether, I mean, is it really worth a gamble for that? It's not like Liverpool are where we were a couple of years ago. It's funny you mentioned that, you know, Brendan Rodgers saying Markovic, Jordan Ibe. You know, we're just not shopping in that bracket anymore. We don't have to take gambles. So if you don't have to take, sometimes you've got to, but we don't. I don't feel anyway. So if you haven't got to take a gamble, but why, unless it's some kind of vanity project? And if there's a manager who would think is averse to this kind of vanity project, the polar opposite of Rodgers, so to speak, it would be Jurgen Klopp. Don't get me wrong, I think he's a player who's got ability, who's probably capable of scoring some fantastic goals. I think Wolves could be a really good fit for him, incidentally. I think if he goes to Wolves, he's in a place where he can be the big fish if he wants, and he can strut around and act like he's the man and all that. But I just think that, you know, you look at that Liverpool dressing room, and if anyone come in with a bit of an attitude, I mean, you look at that, we've got superstars, but none of ours. I mean, we don't see what goes on behind the scenes, but you get the sense that what goes on behind closed doors at Anfield, there are no dickheads. Do you know what I mean? And we all know as well, it only takes one bad apple in that dressing room. Alex Ferguson was a great exponent of getting rid of bad influences in the dressing room, even if there were players at the top of the game, the way he got rid of Paul Ince, the way he got rid of Stam, and he later admittedly regretted getting rid of Stam, but the way he got rid of David Beckham, you know, because it doesn't take much to disrupt that rhythm. And with football now, it's much bigger than what it used to be. I mean, you talk about how fit they are now. They're like F1 cars now. They're so finely tuned, and everything's got to be right. The conditions have got to be exactly right. And for me, even at that kind of money, it'd just be a gamble that Liverpool don't need to take.
What do you reckon, Josh? I mean, as I say, he didn't sort of set the world alight at Manchester United, but he was quite. I mean, Andy's touched on his attitude. He's quite forthright and was quite happy to sort of throw the managers he played for at Manchester United under the bus. So he didn't really get a go under Mourinho. He only played 8 times under Jose Mourinho with his 1 start coming against Northampton Town in the League Cup. That sounds a familiar fixture. I like Roy. And before that, you know, he was playing for Van Gaal and he didn't seem to get on with him either. And there's this weird story about him practicing on his left foot with Ryan Giggs and the manager telling him off for doing so and all this type of stuff. All this said, when I've been looking into him, this caught my attention. So there's a period last year, and this was reported around November 2018, where he'd either scored or set up 29 of his club's goals that year. And that was more than Mbappe, more than Neymar, more than every other player in League 1 at the time. And only Ronaldo, Messi and Suarez had been more effective in the calendar year at that time. So that really sort of highlights that he's got huge potential. And I just wonder if we flip this on its head for a minute for the sake of this conversation at the very least. You look at Michael Edwards and you look what we know about him, and that's not an awful lot still. But one of the things that you hear about him over and over again is that he'll challenge when people say things. So we could all say what we've just said there about, well, why would you go for him? He's a bit mad, he's this, he's that, he's the other. But Michael Edwards might go, but he's capable of this. And if we could get more of that, do we end up getting value out of this purchase? And you just wonder, he's still 25-ish, I think, so he's still got loads of potential. And yet he's a bit of a bell. But is there something there, do you think? I think
you could argue, yeah. I think Liverpool is the right environment now for a player almost like Depay to flourish, I think. And, you know, you mentioned his age there. He's coming towards his peak years. We seem to be sort of signing players now who are around that sort of 25, 24 mark. The lads who've got, you know, a few years before they start to hit their peak. And Depay is someone I think who's massively, you know, kicked on from his time at United. I know that's the one thing we get to look back on and say that was the time when we saw the most of him, but we also didn't see a lot of him and didn't see, you know, what he's truly capable of. I don't think he strikes me a bit as one of them YouTube players. Like, you see all his like flashy skills and his free kicks and stuff like that, and you wonder whether there's much substance to it. But I almost have faith in Liverpool that they can get that sort of thing out of a player like him. You know, I have similar questions about Depay to what I had for Shaqiri. If you think about when Shaqiri arrived, I wondered whether he'd be able to put the hard yards in, and maybe you could argue he hasn't, and that's why Klopp sort of left him out of favour a bit last season. But they strike me as sort of similar kinds of players, similar types of styles. So I'd be quite into it, and I think the personality thing is sometimes can be overdone. I know he's forthright and he's outspoken, but I think a lot of people judge him on the sort of what they class as flashy as well. But, you know, his mates with Gino Wijnaldum, I don't really see, if you look at both their Instagrams, I don't see much difference in the way that they're flashy about it. So I think you can look into that too much, and obviously we only see what we really see in games or what they put on social media. We don't live their lives with them. We don't see them in training or anything, so we're not sort of privy to that information. But it's not one that I'd want to sort of rule out. And I think if he was to come to Liverpool, and I think it could be the right environment for him.
He's got a lovely red suit as well, which caused quite the stir. Gibbo's been looking at StatsBomb to try and find out if there's anything else that we need to know about Depay. So here's Gibbo now on the Dutchman.
So we're going to have a little look at Memphis Depay. One of the positives of Memphis Depay, and one of the reasons that Liverpool are probably having a little look at him, is the fact that he can play across the front three, which his versatility would be a real asset to Liverpool if you're looking for that fourth forward, if you like. So I'm going to compare him as a striker, first of all, with Roberto Firmino, and then as an attacking midfielder / winger with Sadio Mane. So we'll go with the Firmino comparisons first. We'll get that up. A couple of things that are kind of similar, really, a couple of similarities to go through and also differences as well. In terms of shooting, in terms of goals, Memphis Depay, They're a little bit ahead, so XG per shot is higher, XG per 90 is higher, so the quality of the shots he's taken a little bit higher than Firmino, which is quite interesting, and also, as you'd expect from that, how many goals he's likely to get per 90 minutes a little bit higher as well. He is taking more shots, that should be said, but also the quality of the shots he's taken slightly higher too, so he's not just shooting from everywhere, which is good. He's much more likely to dribble, as maybe you'd expect, than Roberto Firmino. And also, those assist numbers are really, really impressive. This is just Champions League stats, by the way, so I'm not looking at league games where you could argue that Memphis Depay might have quite a nice time in a slightly weaker league than the Premier League. These are all Champions League games for Lyon, of which Depay played 7 in total last season. And so, yeah, so in a Champions League tournament against quality opposition, his numbers are really good. XG assists in particular, he's averaging, creating the kind of chance that he'd get an assist 1 in every 3 games, which is fantastic. Where he doesn't quite do as well as Firmino is in terms of winning the ball back, and that's something he'd maybe have to work on a little bit if you want to play for the Jurgen Klopp side. So what is interesting is that he's pressing the ball nearly as much as Roberto Firmino. So in terms of pressures, he's on around 21, Firmino on 23. But in terms of winning the ball back, actually regains, Firmino's completely having him off. They're 4.3 compared to around 1.5. And so, you know, so I don't know whether I haven't watched him kind of pressing the ball too much, whether he's playing a bit of lip service to it. Maybe he's kind of, you know, jogging up but not really kind of trying. I don't know. But that's certainly something he'd have to, you know, look at if he wants to play as a striker for Liverpool. But from an attacking point of view and from a creative point of view, his stats from the Champions League last year, really, really impressive. So let's have a look at him from an attacking midfielder kind of winger point of view. Let's compare him with Sadio Mane. In terms of Mane, from a goal scoring point of view, he does lag a little bit behind. So although he's having more shots than Sadio Mane is shooting in better positions. So his XG is much higher, and his XG per 90 is much, much higher as a result of having less shots, but more kind of better quality efforts, if you like. And so he is behind on that. He's behind on touches in the box as well, so Sadio Mane is making more of a use of himself in the area, if you like, as well. And Sadio Mane also features higher on successful dribbles and fouls won, but maybe that's slightly to do with the fact that he's more of a natural kind of wide player, if you like, than Memphis Depay is. Where Depay does a little bit better, that XG assists again, so the number of assists you'd expect him to get per game based on the quality of his passing and where he's passing into players too. Depay really, really high there. Also his passing generally, his passing stats percentages are higher, so he's taking good care of the ball. He does slip up, so he is better as well in terms of turnovers, so maybe that comes from the fact that Mane's dribbling more, but from another point of view is that Depay is turning over the ball a lot less. So slightly different why men, the comparisons to Firmino are a little bit different, so he's a different kind of wide player, but you could see from that what he could bring to Liverpool.
All right, nice one to John there for crunching the stats and all that. One more thing on him, on Depay, this really made me laugh. So when he's at Manchester United as well, he got dropped, as mentioned earlier, before he had problems with both managers he played for there. And there was a time where Wayne Rooney, of all people, decided to sort of take him under his wing a little bit and said, maybe like while you're knocking around playing for the Rezzies and trying to get back in the first team, keep a bit of a low profile. The next day came in a Rolls Royce wearing a leather jacket and a cowboy hat. So yeah, well in. Okay, so a rating. We're still doing Mo's. Mo is in Glastonbury, dancing naked with hippies with probably a massive spliff in his mouth. But we're still using them to rate the transfers. So Josh, how many Mo's are you giving Memphis?
Is it in terms of likelihood it'll happen or how much you're into it?
It's likelihood it would happen.
I'm going to do both. I reckon likelihood it will happen is probably 2 Mo's, is quite low, but I reckon I'm 4 Mo's into it though.
Okay. Andy?
I am not walking with Memphis.
Someone had to.
I am 1 Mo in for probability, and I'm going to give him 2 Mo's just for slagging Everton off.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't really mention that. He said Everton wasn't prestigious enough for him.
Yes.
Lol. I'm going to give it 2 Mo's as well. I think I don't know, maybe. Okay, we'll move on then. So, if you've been watching social media and you've been reading The Echo and
Not living in a cave.
Yeah, basically, it's been absolutely everywhere. But this picture should have been on your screen there. Sam? That picture there of Daniel Sturridge and Kylian Mbappé has caused another social media storm because this fella has been knocking around telling everyone that, you know, he's the Reds when he's playing FIFA. He's big mates with LeBron James, the top Red. And of course, Paul Joyce has been retweeting stuff and all the rest of it. So there's loads of this sort of gentle, jokey, it's on talk and the like. It even got to the stage where, you know, the likes of the Metro was writing actual stories saying it could happen. And then there was actual denial from PSG that he was going anywhere. There was also a bit of a weird quote a while ago where he said maybe the moment to have more responsibilities at a new project was now. So again, it all sort of keeps it ticking along, and we're all loving the sort of idea that he's flirting away and all the rest of it, and it's the summer. But he's said to be the most valuable player in the game after moving for 160 million quid to PSG. Obviously, that fee would have to be improved on to get him away from Paris, you would have thought. He's on 350 grand a week, plus loads of mad bonuses and loads of mad commercial deals and all the rest of it. He's not skint. But again, if you go knocking on the door, you would think that you would have to improve on it and absolutely smash Liverpool's wage structure. It's the most far-fetched of links, Andy.
Oh, yeah. But unfortunately nothing. No, there are a couple of layers to this. No, what's interesting is there is more than tentative links to Liverpool. There was the fact that Klopp was interested in Mbappé when he was at Monaco. The club have had him on the radar for a couple of years. They maybe didn't have... The shame of it is, if Liverpool had been in the position then that what they're in now, they probably would have stood a decent chance of getting him. The other side to this is the situation in Paris, where it's kind of been drawn up as Mbappé versus Neymar, and it looks like there's only going to be one winner now, which is Mbappé. Neymar's gone to Paris to be the man. Look, that hasn't happened. Mbappe's undoubtedly stole that crown. Obviously, you know, he is French anyway. You know, he's their next superstar. He's younger. Commercially, you mentioned commercial. The commercial aspect is interesting actually because he's with Nike, and Nike's biggest sports property, if you will, to be a bit boring and dry, is PSG.
But there's talk of Nike and Liverpool, though, isn't
No, I think New Balance will get the deal now.
Okay.
Yeah, from what little I know about it, I think there was a good chance Nike got it, but I think that's faded. But anyway, the Nike thing, the Nike thing is interesting because when you're at that level of football, you talk about footballers' wages and endorsements and one thing and the other, and you look at a sort of chart the other week about top sportsmen's earnings, and the tennis players were at the top, but their actual wage from tennis only made up like 20% of their income, and the rest of it was commercial deals. And then you look at the basketball players and how much, you know, LeBron is influenced by his commercial tie-ups. And if, you know, Nike ever moved away from PSG, it'd be interesting to see how that would affect Kylian Mbappé. I mean, the only way I could see him ever leaving PSG is if something happens akin to what could potentially happen to Man City in regards to FFP, doping, not being able to play, not doping as in, but financial fair play doping financially. And if, you know, they got excluded from the Champions League, because I think we underestimate just how important the Champions League is to the top echelon of players, if you will. Saying that, it'd be great, wouldn't it? You know, you wake up back at the Echo. You know, it'd be such a sign, and I hope they produce a special edition late afternoon Echo with Mbappe on the back. One for the Dars there. I mean, no, but that used to be the thing pre-internet. You literally only ever find out.
Press, that little column down the back page.
Yeah. I still remember the day when Rushy resigned from Juventus, and no one knew until the Echo just dropped, and people thought it was like anyway. No, as romantic as it is, I can't see it happening. But you know what? I think sometimes we underestimate, and we underestimate just how good the forwards are we've actually got ourselves. You know, we are champions of Europe, and I think we don't not give enough credit. We all know how good they are, but we don't stand away. So if you go abroad or you speak to people who don't support Liverpool, especially on the continent, our forward line, they're all revered. Yeah. Whereas I think it's a Liverpool thing to maybe not do ourselves down a little bit, but maybe not talk ourselves up enough. So, you know, I'm not saying he wouldn't improve us, but I don't think there's an Kylian Mbappe-sized hole at Liverpool, as romantic as it sounds. And it makes good copy, doesn't it?
Certainly for 400 grand a week. Well, what do you reckon, Josh? Anything to add to that? I'll ask for you to, you can start it off with ratings as well once you've said your piece as well.
I feel like I'm kind of juxtaposing Andy this episode. Yeah. I'm trying to be more positive about it. In terms of, you know, having the players already there, I think one of the things you always want from Liverpool is to not just let this success just be a flash in the pan. You want them to keep building on it. And I think if you get to a stage where you think, oh, you settle with what you've got, then that's when you start to go backwards. And obviously we've got a couple of lads there in Mane, Salah and Firmino who I would say are probably at or around their peak age, all sort of 26, 27, 28ish. I think if you include Firmino, they're all at a stage where, you know, in a few years you're gonna be looking at replacing them. They're going to be sort of on the wane in 2 or 3 years' time. It might even be on the move in 2 or 3 years' time if any of the stuff is somewhere about Salah's to be believed. So Mbappe would be one who would be obviously an absolutely unreal player, an unreal talent, still very young as well. He's one who, when you hear about him being linked with Liverpool, it's sort of when you know that Liverpool are back to where they should be. And I think one thing that people aren't giving us enough credit for, when Andy says about we're not getting enough credit, is, you know, people see the links to Mbappe and go like, why would he move to Liverpool? And that's Liverpool fans saying that, and you think, well, they're the champions of Europe, and he's talked loads in interviews recently about how he'd rather win the Champions League than the Ballon d'Or because one leads to the other and things like that. So I think it'd be really interesting to see if Liverpool were to actually go to the table with something serious for PSG, whether they'd be able to do it. I think the problem would be the wages, because his wages are obviously already massive. You'd imagine they'd have to improve on it, like you say, and Liverpool have got a bit of a wage structure which would probably limit them being able to do that. But
and it's what you do with the other players, like, so you suddenly sign. It's a Duncan Ferguson thing, where he had to be he had to be par with.
But I guess if you walk around the dressing room though tomorrow and was like, boys, got a chance of signing him, are you all going to come and knock me door down if we sign him, or do you want us to sign him? And everyone went, fancy playing with him.
It's one of them things you'd be confident Klopp could deal with in the way he's managed the players so far. He's been able to manage players who aren't having much game time. You know, you look at the situation with Origi in particular this season. He's been able to manage these scenarios that you'd have thought most football managers might not be able to actually deal with. So I wouldn't really see that being so much of an issue. There maybe be one or two who'd be like, come on, like I'm 100 grand off him and I'm not 100 grand worse than him. So in terms of likelihood, I'm going to try and cling to the hope and give it a 3 Mo's out of 5. In terms of the excitement of it, it's definitely 5 Mo's.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, Andy, what are you rating it?
Oh, Fantasyland, I'd give what I'd like to happen, I'd give it a 5. But I wouldn't even give it half a Mo, unfortunately, not unless Nike.
No Mo's?
No Mo's.
No Mo's? Have you had a no Mo before, Sam?
Well, they're no Mo.
What happens? Oh, okay, like family fortune.
Survey said, there you go. So unless Nike suddenly decides to pay Liverpool £500 million a year for the kit deal, dump PSG and subsidise 2/3 of his wages.
I think it's all a bit...
It's on. I reckon it's on after Andy said that.
I think it's all a bit computer game. It's not Liverpool either in terms of what they've ever done. I know, you know, things are different and different people in charge, but it's just too much money, surely, isn't it? Hey? Well, we shall see. That has been the Transfer Show. We were going to talk about goalies. We've run out of time again. You're probably not that arsed, are you? I mean, we've done it. We're probably going to keep him in your like, there you go, 5 Mo's out of 5. We'll keep him in your like.
I think he's off, by the way, just on that.
Oh, yeah?
He said,
Andy's giving it another no Mo.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if Mingale moves on. I think he's been spoken up about, and I think what's been said about was absolutely spot on. I think his attitude's been brilliant, and that's why I think he deserves a move, because he's got a unique opportunity to cement himself as Belgium's #1 national goalkeeper at the minute. So I don't know.
We need to buy someone then, don't we?
Yeah, and I've seen the name Alex McCarthy, who's absolutely fucking shite. Bar one decent game at Anfield against us. But see, there we are. See that one
Who
goes.
do you want then? Fraser Forster?
I'll take Pepe Reina back.
There you go. That's the second time that's been said on this show. Kev Walsh is also banging that drum. Maybe we can get this into the papers. Maybe we can get Paul Gorst to ring Liverpool Football Club and say, are you interested in Pepe Reina?
He's doing his coaching badges as well.
He's having to ring about every other single name under the sun right
now.
Still
got a house here. Just saying. There
you go. That's been the Transfer Show. Up the Reds. Mo will be back soon. Maybe. If he's not in the stone circle getting stoned.